Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream here on LiveSCREAM. Now, I haven't done one of these for about 3 months because I have had a newborn baby, so I had to put a stop to the live streams, unfortunately, but I'm glad to be doing them again, and hopefully I'll be doing these once every couple of weeks, hopefully. I would like to maybe do one for every week and the end of until the end of October, so that'd be, I think that's three towards the end of October, but we'll see. It depends how busy I am. But we've got a special guest on here with me today, as usual. We always like to have a guest on, and his name is Trevor from Double Bill Movies. So I'm just going to bring him in right now. Here we go. Hi, Trevor.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. We've been talking about doing this for a while, haven't we? We were going to do it on my Movie Worm channel a while ago, and then I had to put a stop to them ones for a little bit. And I think this one might be better for us though, because I believe you're a bit of a horror fan. That's right?
I am. Yeah, I am definitely a bit of a horror fan.
Well, I'll get into why you're a horror fan in a second, Trevor. But just before we get into anything, do you want to just introduce your channel to us?
Yeah. So, as Jordan very kindly said, I am Trevor from Double Bill Movies. I initially based the channel on originals and remakes, and that is the main premise of the channel. But I spent 10 years working in the industry, making all the discs that we buy, and I have a couple of series that talk about that very subject. And that job mainly was at Pinewood Studios, so I also have some pretty cool stuff on about Pinewood Studios as well. But yeah, horror is definitely one of the big genres that I like to watch.
Good stuff, mate. I had a look at your channel before, and you've been doing a lot of remakes with the original and comparing them and stuff, which was really interesting. I'll get into the remakes and stuff in a minute because I wrote this down. Like, I want to get your idea on what you think are some of the best remakes and stuff like that. But firstly, how did you get into horror? I'm sure we've all got our little stories, but what brought you to the horror genre, and what age was you about and stuff, and what made you fall in love with that genre?
Right, so when I was 12, I was staying at a mate's house, and got to sort of midnight, and we were sleeping in the lounge, funnily enough, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to put a film on," and he put on Friday the 13th. No, he didn't. That's a lie. He put on A Nightmare on Elm Street. Because I watched that recently. No, so yeah, he put on A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I watched it, and I could feel myself sort of being scared and everything, but I got through it, and I was like, yeah, I kind of like that. I don't really know when I really kicked off on the horror watching, because I was into Star Trek and Star Wars and all that kind of stuff as well. So there's not really one pinpoint where I really started to go into the horror, but I suppose when I started to buy my own VHSs, then yeah, maybe a few horrors crept in there, but yeah.
So yeah, so basically it was mainly A Nightmare on Elm Street, would you say, that brought you to it?
That definitely kicked it all off. And then as I was getting older, and perhaps people were allowing me to watch certain things or stay up and watch certain things, and it just sort of it grew from there. Just exploring, you know.
Yeah. I can relate to that, mate, because it was Freddie who got me into the genre, to be honest. I heard about it, all these kids in school talking about it, and I was just like, what is this movie? I didn't even know horror movies existed back then. I was just watching Aladdin and stuff like that. I begged my mum and dad to let me watch it. They wouldn't. My dad would have, but my mum was a bit. And I snuck over to my friend's house and watched it and fell in love with it ever since. So, yeah, and then Friday the 13th you mentioned there, is that because you watched that last Friday?
Oh, well, yeah, it was a pretty good day to watch it, wasn't it?
I've done exactly the same myself, mate.
Yeah, I was just thinking that so when my dad used to take us to the cinema, and so he took me to a couple of Disney films. Obviously they were reruns, and always before them was a B movie called Peter and the Wolf.
Right.
And I think this is also where the grounds for my being a bit wary of werewolves has come from. Because you know how Disney can make things look creepy.
Mm.
So every time we went to the cinema, I thought it was a normal thing to see Peter and the Wolf before each film.
Right.
I must have seen it 3 or 4 times,
Hmm.
but I actually quite liked it. And then one of the films he took me to see was Star Trek Wrath of Khan. And of course, there's the bit where they put the creatures in the helmets, and of course they go in the ears and everything, and that scared me, obviously.
Mm.
And then Superman 3, when the woman gets sucked into the computer, and then obviously she comes back out, and that I could feel how scared I was for that. And even now, I find that I go quiet and tense up. So horror elements have been
Mm.
exposed to me, and I guess now, because I'm older and I think I can handle this, this being scared doesn't bother me, sort of thing. And then you find yourself watching more and more extreme things, don't you, to sort of see, oh,
Mm.
how far can I go, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of Disney films have scary moments in them. Snow White, when she gets caught up in the forest, and
Yeah.
Sleeping Beauty, when that all the thorns and everything come in, and the prince is
Yeah.
trying to get his way through, and they're all scary moments. So maybe that sort of buzz that you get, even though you don't know it as a buzz, you're scared. Just kind of, oh, I want more.
Yeah. No, that's fully understandable, mate. Yeah, I can see. So you sort of been interested in horror before you'd even really watched horror. Is that what you're trying to say, basically?
I
Yeah.
think that is the case. Yeah,
Yeah. Just a little scare factor you get.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That's understandable, mate. Um. So I was going to ask you, like, what would you say over the years, like, have been some of your favorite horror movies and stuff? Like, is it into the more extreme stuff that you've watched when you grew a little older, or is it just mainly the main franchises, or what would you say are
No.
like it's a few horror films, basically?
um, I mean, when I watch other people's channels, and they talk about their horror journey, and they talk about films that they've seen that I've never heard of, I realised I didn't just sort of start thinking, oh, I don't think I rented many horrors, if you see what I mean. I think at the time I was concentrating more on your sci-fi and
Mm.
other things. But so yeah, I did obviously check out a few other Nightmare on Elm Streets. I remember maybe number 3 was the only one I sort of got. And then, like I said, it is a bit blurry. I've said on my couple of my videos, I had a big moment of unemployment, and I spent a lot of the time on my phone, just watching horror films.
Mm.
Uh, Now I missed a lot of them because tired, and you sort of fall asleep with your phone in your hand, and so I've actually been exploring them, and I think that's when I started to. That's when I discovered Arrow, and that's when I started to buy certain films, and then I realized that Arrow were releasing the films that I'd been watching on YouTube prior,
Mm. Mm.
and so that's when it really took off, and that's when I really started to explore. So, Squirm, that was definitely one that I watched, and that was definitely one of the early ones I brought from Arrow. I'm just sort of looking over my collection.
Is that
Deranged,
the one with the worms? Is that the movie with all the
yeah,
worms? And yeah,
yeah, with the
I've
little.
not seen it. I've heard of it though.
Oh, you definitely need to see it, especially with your title of your channel.
I know when you said Scream, I was like, oh yeah. I had to take a back seat for a second.
Yeah, yeah. And then as watching YouTube and watching other people, and they're mentioning directors and things and actors and whatnot, Jeffrey Combs always used to, just the way he looks, it sort of bothered me a little bit, and they
Mm.
shouldn't do, but it did, and so maybe I avoided his stuff. But now I'm hunting his films down, you know, Reanimator and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, the things that you shy away from now, I'm sort of thinking, no, hang on, these films are supposed to be good. And then of course you hear directors' names like David Cronenberg, and the fact that it's all either body horror or special effects, and you got your John Carpenter and that kind of thing. And you've seen films of theirs before you realize it's their film. And so my understanding of directors and things has only sort of come now. Whereas I know when I watch a lot of you guys, you've got a deep set knowledge that you've known about, you've been interested and explored earlier on than I have. But you know, it's a great journey, and I'm enjoying being on it.
Now, don't get me wrong, mate. There's still movies I watch now, and I look it up on Letterboxd or whatever, and go, "So he directed that? I didn't know that one." I think there was one. There was one the other day. I think I just bought it, and it had Toby Hooper on the front, and I didn't even realise it was him. I think it was The Mangler or something. Didn't even realise it was him. But I'm trying to get up like it's all his films now and stuff. So yeah, I like to go sort of explore directors and stuff myself. Speaking of David Cronenberg, just while we're on the subject, have you seen any of his son's movies, Brandon Cronenberg's?
I don't know. No, do you tell me some?
He's only made 3. I forgot the name of the first one, but one of them's called Possessor, which was a couple of years ago, and the latest one is Infinity Pool.
Right. So I've heard of that. Yeah. So a lot of modern horror, apart from say Saw and the franchise, and obviously Evil Dead, I haven't explored many new horrors. There's such a plethora of old titles, and obviously decades worth, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So I'm kind of going backwards before I sort of catch up too much to the present.
Yeah, I get you. I know what you mean, mate. Because I was going to ask you about where you stand with modern horror and stuff a little bit later on. But is that, while we're on the subject, I might as well just talk about it now. Is there anything that does come out that piques your interest, or are you kind of just like definitely more towards the older stuff now?
So Smile definitely piqued my interest, and I thoroughly enjoyed that film. That was a pleasure to see a modern film and get sort of a new twist on things. You know, the one thing we probably almost do every day is smile, and you know, it makes us feel good, it makes other people feel good, and to put a horror twist on that is like, okay. I like that. I mean, other modern horror films, I mean, I say modern, they're probably 20 years old now, but Untraceable, do you know that one?
I haven't heard of that one. No, I haven't heard of that one, mate.
It's about a guy who sets up a website called Kill With Me. And right, well, he sets up the website, and he basically has a kitten on there, and he puts some food in front of this sticky pad, and then the kitten the other side of it. So the kitten just walks towards the food, and of course it gets stuck. And then so the camera's on it, and the more people that log on to the website, the quicker the subject dies, essentially. Then because he starts doing it with people, and he's got these weird and wonderful way. So it is a very a Saw sort of concept. But I thought that was really good. So that's bordering more the extreme, because obviously we all know Saw is a bit of a gore fest type thing. There's another one called.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Trevor. That definitely sounds like that documentary called "Don't F with Cats." It's the same story. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's the same story.
Oh right, no, I have not seen that. Torture or Tortured is another one, which was made by the producers of Saw, I think.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, it's a very good film. That
great twist.
So there's plenty of modern horrors in my collection. I think what's happening is my brain is waking up as we're talking.
Yeah.
And I'm remembering more and more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, they're just behind me. I could just look over my shoulder and go, "Oh yeah, I've seen that, and that."
Yeah. Feel free to look back if you need to, mate. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, is that? I'll get back onto that in a sec. But we've got 2 comments here, so I'll just get into these really quick. Oh, sorry. Tommy vs Jason, Friday the 13th fanboy. Hey fellas, how are you doing today? Hello, mate. Thank you for coming along. I love horror movies. What horror protagonist did you see yourself? Do you see yourself being as fighting a horror icon? I don't get what he's saying.
Right. What horror protagonist did you see yourself being as fighting a horror icon? So a horror icon, talking about Final Girls, maybe.
I still don't get the question.
Yeah, I think I get it. Sorry, Tommy, if we're not understanding you.
So does it mean a horror protagonist that you count as a horror icon now? Is that what he means?
Possibly. But what do we see ourselves as? So, like, who do we see ourselves? Who do we identify with? Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll probably every time you're on a live stream, it's hard to think, isn't it? And then you come off the live stream, and go, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
Well, a lot of horror protagonists, they're women, aren't they? They're like scream queens and stuff, especially from the 80s and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That's a hard question, man. What have you got any head? You got any in your head, Trevor?
I suppose the final girl in actually Friday the 13th, the way she handles herself fighting Mrs. Voorhees, you know, that's clearly Mrs. Voorhees is lost it and got to that state of frenzy, and it's perhaps a little easier to overcome them in that state, maybe. But yeah, she sort of thinks about what she's doing, and yeah, that was a pretty good one. I could go with that one.
Well, he's actually said, "Sorry, I meant as a horror protagonist fighting Jason or Chucky. Did you see yourself as Andy Barclay and Tommy John?" Oh, so when you're watching it, are you
right? Oh, which character
immersed into the film? I think that's what he means.
Right.
I suppose when I was younger, I probably was, because I was like cheering them on, because I was a little bit scared and stuff. Like when Alice is fighting Mrs. Voorhees, I was like, that film terrified me as a kid, by the way. And I was like, towards the end, I was like, go on, just kill her, basically. And I'd always shout at the screen when they dropped it. I think she hits her with a hammer and drops the hammer when her head's bleeding and stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing? So I do sort of get immersed as the protagonist when I was a lot younger, more than what I do now. I think that's what he means anyway.
Yeah, it's when they do something that in your sane head, because you're watching it, you're thinking, why did you do that? You know, but then you've got to put yourself actually in the situation and wonder how you would actually handle it.
Yeah.
Can you stay calm? Can you be collective and go, okay, I need to do this? And you know, it's like, oh, watch out for that, don't trip over that, and and things like that. Don't stumble, don't so yeah, I think getting involved with the characters fighting the nemesis, yeah, I think definitely I do, especially if you're really enjoying it. But in some ways, then you're like, well, hang on, but I want Jason to win because that's what I'm watching it for.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I think that's why you sort of pick. They're very careful with the protagonist they pick, because you are behind Jason or Freddy for most of the film, aren't you? Like, there's a lot of Elm Street films where I'm happy for Freddy to kill some of the annoying characters, like Rachel and Freddy's dead and stuff like that. Are you much of a gamer, by the way, Trevor?
I did have a spell of gaming. When we were at work and there was downtime, because we had the watch through rooms, and we all had PS3 each. We all just played Black Ops on each other. Had a LAN party sort of thing. So I sort of got into it. I do have a PS3 and I do have a load of games. But yeah, no, I haven't played for a while. But obviously, you got some horror games. There's horror games, aren't there? And even at the end of Black Ops, playing the zombie levels, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, it's mainly just because he said, who's your favorite good guy in a horror game? But have you played many horror games apart from maybe Black Ops the Zombies? Or
No. Yeah, I couldn't really name any, to be honest. But yeah, sorry, Thomas.
No, I was gonna say that horror games, if you do ever give them a proper go, they scare me more than horror films. Like way more. Like that is what you call yourself getting immersed in something. And yeah, sometimes I'm scared to go around the corner and stuff. I have to save it and have a little break and stuff like that.
Yeah, so, I suppose it's because you're controlling it, aren't you?
Yeah.
I remember seeing my mate play Dead Space, and it was only on a small monitor, but actually you are sort of like, oh, that's dark. What's happening there? And I did get myself an Alien game, and I started playing it, and I could feel the tension. I'm like, there's dark areas there. There's going to be an alien pop out at me, isn't there? A xenomorph. And
that Alien Isolation, was it?
It might have been. It might have been, yeah, but definitely for PS3. So I didn't play much of it. Actually, my remote, the joypad doesn't work very well. It suddenly goes and plays by itself. So I need to get another one. But yeah.
Okay. He's put another few questions in here, but we'll just get on. Who's your favorite horror protagonist? A male horror protagonist. I think I've got one, but do you want to go first, Trevor? What would you say?
You go first, mate. You go first.
Well, I'd probably go with Jessie from Nightmare on Elm Street 2. It was very dominantly female in the 80s, the Scream Queens and stuff like that. And I thought, like, it was one of the very first horror films I watched, and I thought he put a great performance in because of how terrified he actually is in that film. And Freddy's really dark in that one, but he really put it across like he was really scared, and I really got behind him and wanted him to succeed in that film. No way we want Freddy to kill them. I actually wanted him to get out of this, and I always had nightmares after it where he's going down to his kitchen and Freddy was outside the window and stuff, and I sort of related to that because I always used to put myself in his shoes when I'd run down the stairs for a drink of water and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd say I'd go with Jessie from Elm Street 2. Yeah, I just because I've watched it so many times as well, and he's a great character, and it's a shame Mark Patton didn't act after that. It was the only movie he was in, I think.
Right. Yeah, you often get these really sort of really great roles, and you think, oh, I'm going to look them up. Who else have they been in? And it's just like one film. Like, oh,
yeah.
So who do I like? I actually kind of like Mark Wahlberg in Saw 2. And I've obviously I feel his frustration, but at the same time I'm hearing the messages that Jigsaw is giving him, and the very simple one is sit with me for a couple of hours.
Yeah,
and that's it. But I like the fact I've got to get my son. I'm going to stop at anything to get my son back, and that's the fact he's not been great for his son, but he's like, no, I've got to sort this out. I've got to redeem myself and everything. Yeah. And then when you see him, when does he pop up again? When he's got his feet on the ice and all that sort of stuff.
I think that's in like Saw 4 or something, isn't it? Like that's the next time we see him.
Not quite straight away, but I mean that's just such a clever story how all of that interweaves and everything. But yeah, so whatever his character name is, I can't remember. But that's my one.
Yeah. I don't always remember watching Saw 2, and it was like, what a great twist that was. Like, I kind of forgot there was going to be a twist at the end because Saw's caught me off guard a few times. There's always a twist at the end, and you sort of forget about it when you're watching them for the first time. But Yeah, I can't really blame him, because if it was my son, I'd probably do the same. But
Yeah, you're not
that's
really
the
going to be able to stay calm, are you?
I know that's the balance, isn't it? And the fact that it's all already a recorded thing. I really wanted to go back to the Saw franchise, actually, because recently I've been watching a few videos on it. Like, there's a horror YouTuber called Cody Leach. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's
No.
he ranked all the Saw traps. I think there was 78 of them, and he ranked them from worst to best. But I was just
Wow.
listening to him going, "Well, I need to watch these films again," because it's been a while. But 1 and 2 are really always like, they're very clear, because they're my two favorite ones. But have you seen Saw X by any chance?
No, I haven't actually. And I probably missed it in the cinema now, but I would love to have caught it in the cinema. Once I started watching them, I pretty much saw all the rest in the cinema. I was like, that was the one time I found myself going to the cinema. I want to see more Saw. But yeah, I mean, talking about the traps, obviously you got the bear trap in the first one, but the syringe pit in 2 is just like, oh no.
Yeah, oh, and he just throws it off the ledge, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I hate that character, man.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely recommend picking up Saw X if you're not going to go to cinema. It's on 4K or Blu-ray or whatever, because you know what, it's probably the best one after the first two. I've heard even people say it's the best, and I'm not one of them who just has recency bias or anything. It is a really good film, really good, and I actually attached myself to Jigsaw in this one, talking about getting into horror protagonist. I actually was on his side in this one, but I won't say any more. I don't want to give spoilers away or anything.
No, that's
but
fine, that's all right.
yeah, it's a good film. I definitely recommend it if you like the Saw franchise.
A few years ago, I actually watched them in order over I think it was about 3 days. So I watched a couple at a time, and that's when I realised how good the story thread is. And then, of course, when Jigsaw came out, and again, it really threw me. It's like, well, where does this sit in the pantheon of things, you know? And then, of course, you get the reveal, and it's like, right, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's fine. But then, even with Spiral, which I actually quite liked, that's, yeah, it doesn't have quite the same impact, but it's not really meant to. It's a side shoot, isn't it? So they don't want to, especially if they were coming up with Saw 10, then you know, they don't want to take the limelight from it. So, but it definitely pays to watch franchise films in order all the way through.
Yeah. Do you know where about Saw 10 takes place? Have you heard? Or
no?
No, I won't say not, and then if you don't want to, but
I've only watched the teaser trailer with the guy with the acid or whatever is just going to his eyes, and it's like, yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it, mate. It's definitely worth a go, definitely. Did you watch Never Hike Alone 2? It's a really good movie. Have you heard of this, Trevor? It's a fan-made Friday the 13th film.
Oh, right. No, I haven't. I am aware that there's lots of horror fans that do fan films and this, that, and the other. So, yeah, maybe that's one I can check out.
Yeah. I watched Never Hike Alone 1, and you know what? It was surprisingly really good. But I haven't seen Never Hike Alone 2. I believe there's another one, Never Hike in the Snow, as well, where it's all in the snowy mountains or stuff. I think. But I am going to check it out, Tommy versus Jason. But I'm going to check it out at some point, definitely. I watched there was a fan-made Freddy film that came out about a month ago. I watched that, and that was really good as well. It was a sequel to Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and they brought the original.
What's his name in it, isn't it?
Miko Hughes.
Yeah.
They brought him back it's like 25 years after, and the guy who played Freddy was brilliant. He was really good. Yeah, but it's only a 25-minute film. It's worth a go. Definitely worth a go.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about it because I saw trailers for it and everything, and a couple of little interviews with the actor, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, why not? So yeah, I need to find it and give it a proper watch. Yeah,
I reviewed it on my channel, and the director said thanks and all that, so I was made up with that. Like, yeah. The horror protagonist that I like, Tommy Jarvis, Ethan Win. Oh, these are from games. I know who he's
Yeah.
on about. Ethan Winters, Sebastian from Evil Within. Yeah, I agree. I don't suppose you played Evil Within, have you? And
No.
no, yeah. Tommy Jarvis must be from the Friday the 13th game, but I know he's in the films and stuff, isn't he? Ethan Winters from Resident Evil and Sebastian from Evil Within. Yeah, I love the Evil Within games. They're absolutely amazing. Love them. Most underrated horror video games. Okay, we've got Tom here. Right, Tom, thanks a lot for coming
Hey,
along,
Tom.
mate. How are you doing? Yeah, all good, man. All good. Thanks. He's got another one. What's your favourite horror anthology film? You a fan of these, Trevor? I've watched a couple this month, to be honest.
Hang on. For some reason, oh, there we go. I haven't watched many. I do have a few. I've seen the only one I've seen or remember seeing was Creepshow. Is that an anthology?
Yeah, there's 5 stories
Anthology,
in
is that
one thing.
4 films?
5, I think, and the second one's got 3.
Right. Yeah, it's a term that gets thrown around a lot, and I'm like, because I know that Cat's Eye is supposed to be anthology. Is it? I've yet to watch that, but
Yeah, I watched that about 3 days ago for the first time.
But yeah, Creepshow was another thing that stuck in my head, and I remember borrowing it from a guy on VHS back in the mid '90s, and then obviously years went by, and what I remember is the last one and the guy with and the cockroaches in the office.
Mm.
And it's like, okay, I need to find out what it is. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't remember what it was called or anything like that. And then I guess once the internet came about and I started to think, oh, hang on, I could just use the internet and describe it, And then, of course, it came up with this. Right. So, yeah, that's the only one I distinctly remember watching. And I really enjoyed it. So I need to watch it again.
Yeah, I know. I like it when you do that. When you remember something you watched years ago and you find it on the internet finally. I had a question. I was thinking I had this a DVD from years ago, and it was just all horror trailers on before YouTube was even a thing.
Oh, right.
And there was a trailer on that from a film, and I could not remember it, but I just described the trailer in this horror community thing, and they actually said this is the film, and I was made up to find it and stuff. And I've actually forgot the name of it now as well.
It's always the way.
Yeah. I've watched a couple of anthology films this month. I watched Cat's Eye, like I said. It wasn't bad. The first story was great, with James Woods in. The second one was really good as well. The third one was a letdown, which kind of made it not being 3 home runs there. But have you ever watched the VHS movies by any chance?
I've seen the first one.
Yeah.
I tend to watch these things, and then I find out that they're a franchise, and I'm X amount of years behind everyone else, and I think, and with the releases these days, it's like, okay, do I go out and find out all the DVDs, or do I go and find the Blu-rays? And it's like, okay, I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
They're clearly still making them, and I see other people unboxing them and stuff, and there's a few franchises that I've had to do that on, like Paranormal Activities 1, but no, I really liked VHS. I thought that was really cool. The look of it, obviously, because it's done on VHS and everything.
Yeah.
That is something I'm used to watching from a kid and everything. So it really rings home. So yeah, I know some people say some of the others are not as good as the first one and that, but I will definitely look forward to watching the rest of them.
So you wanted them who like kind of tries to wait so that you can watch the franchise as a whole? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. It's I get the whole I kind of want it now, and you really enjoy it, but my problem is when there's such a gap, a couple of years or whatever between a film, I'm like, okay, what am I watching? I've forgotten.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
We can put in a film and go, okay, remind myself. Next day, go to the cinema, and then it's fresh in your mind, and that's all right. But yeah, years ago you couldn't really do that. So
No, I totally understand, because when a new film comes out, sometimes I feel like I have to watch the whole franchise again to refresh my memory and stuff. So, but I was just gonna say, I did watch the latest VHS film. I haven't seen the first one. I only seen
oh,
last year's one and this year's one. And last year's one was a little bit of a disappointment for me, but I was very surprised with this year's one. It's VHS 85. So obviously it takes place in 1985. And do you know what? It was really sinister and violent, and I didn't expect it to be that brutal. And some of the stories kind of intertwine with the other ones. Like, there are standalone stories, but like the first story and the fourth story sort of linked together, and I thought that was really clever.
yeah,
But it was just like I had like goosebumps. I've got goosebumps now talking about it. How creepy it actually was. So
yeah,
yeah, it was like really felt really real as well. The way it
yeah,
was done and
yeah.
stuff. And the found footage gets a bit of a bad name. Sorry, I'm just looking down here, Trevor,
It's all right.
see what I've watched and stuff. But I think found footage gets a bit of a bad name sometimes. But I think it's a really effective way of filmmaking, and it can work for me a lot of the time. I'm always interested in watching found footage. What do you think of it? Found footage. I
Yeah.
know you said you liked it because it was in VHS form, but are they usually your go-to films or?
There was what's it called? Released by 101. The Last Broadcast.
Oh yeah, I've
That
heard of that one.
yeah. I watched that recently. I hadn't seen it before, and that was actually really, really impressive.
Mhm.
So be a bit controversial. Blair Witch Project. I heard all about it. I'm like, my friend who's a horror fan. I trust his his insight into horror films, and he's like, oh, it's brilliant. There's no music in it apart from there's a bit in playing on the radio in a car or something, and me being me, I guess with my music and everything, didn't watch it for decades. Got around to watching it. I was like, yeah, what?
I've heard a few people say that, to be fair,
Yeah,
mate.
I mean, to put myself back at the time, having it not really been done before, I can see why it did so well, and I can really appreciate it. Maybe if I watch it again, because I haven't got that hype and expectation, I'll probably appreciate it more. But I've actually got some box sets from a company called Sterling Entertainment.
Hmm.
I don't know if you watch Bryn's channel, Horror Hands, at all.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So he held up these box sets with really great artwork. So you got Camp Blood.
I mightn't have seen this video. I've got to be honest, but
Yeah.
was this pickup video?
This was about a year or so ago now.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But and it's basically the box has got all the films in it. Obviously, it's a box set, but if they're not complete, if the franchise isn't complete, there's space in the box for further installments.
All right. Okay.
Now, the artwork, you look at the artwork and think, oh, yeah, this is going to be amazing. But they're not. But they're not meant to be. They're shot on VHS, really, really low budget. Just go out there and do it, horror films. And they're kind of great. I actually quite enjoyed them. Being a bit of an enthusiast in filmmaking myself, kind of you look at the techniques they're using, and some people might look at it and go, oh, this is just rubbish. But if you watch the bonus item, the camera being used for the bonus is high definition. And you're
Yeah.
watching the guy holding a VHS camcorder shooting the video. So they've chosen the medium on purpose, and they're copying their heroes, and
Mhm.
they're doing everything that's been done before, but their own way and their own
Yeah.
budget. And it's
Yeah.
really good to watch and see people do that sort of thing.
Yeah. I can relate, mate. I've watched plenty of bad movie. Well, I don't want to say bad because they're trying hard, but low budget films, and I've really enjoyed them. And did I hear you say Camp Blood then?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. And I used to own it on DVD, and I love that film.
Yeah.
I
Well, there's a whole
absolutely
box
loved
set.
it.
There's like 10 films in there, the
Yeah.
Camp Blood collection. So I haven't watched them yet. I haven't got around to it. I got 3 of the box sets. I got Meat Hook Massacre, Axe Grinder, and then Camp Blood. But
Yeah.
yeah, also Camp Blood's named after Friday the 13th, isn't it? So
Yeah.
So you enjoyed that film?
Yeah, I did. I mean, it's even back when I bought it, I could see how terrible the acting is and stuff like that. But it was just so watchable. I don't know. I watched it so many times, and I've seen the second one as well. The second one's not as good, but I would love to get that box set. Where did you get that from, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so it's a website called MakeFlix.
Okay.
Now they're made on demand, so you may look at it and it may say there's like 3 left, but the discs are they're BDRs. But obviously it doesn't take much for them to print another box up, and
Okay.
I mean, one of mine's signed by David Sterling, and then yeah, it's all not handmade, but self-made stuff. It's not mass produced, but that's the beauty of it. They're not wasting their money pressing 10,000 discs and only selling 100. They're making them as per people wanting them. So it's like 100 and something pound a box set, and then of course you got your import fees because it comes from the States. But I'll tell you what, I'll get one down and show you. Hang on.
Go on, let's go for it.
Put it in front of the sofa.
I wrote this down anyway. That's lovely stuff. That's lovely stuff.
The artwork's great.
Yeah.
And you get the discs out. Got to get the camera around. All right, there we go.
Oh yeah, so they all match up.
Yeah. And actually,
I love that.
The faces make part of a poster. So if you lay them all on the ground and you find an actual image, they make a whole poster up.
Great stuff.
So yeah, I mean, I've actually watched the first 2. They're ultra cheesy, but so there's a bit of space in there.
Yeah.
More
in case they make more, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're a horror fan and you want to support the industry, you want to support these independent filmmakers, then that's the way to do it.
Thanks for Sterling Films, is it as well? Yeah, is that the name of the?
So Sterling Entertainment is like the it says it on here. Sterling Entertainment presents. So this franchise is a Dustin Ferguson film series, but Make Flicks.
Okay, I wrote that down on
the website. Yeah, okay. So
I'd love to get that Camp Blood one, but that one looked good. What you had there, I'm gonna have to have a little look on the website at them all. But yeah, thanks for that, Trevor. Really intriguing. I'm getting really addicted to physical media these days. Like, I listen to like loads of live streams in work now with my headphones on. I've always been into physical media, but I think lately I'm getting even a bit more addicted to it. Just there's too much good stuff coming out, man.
There is, and we don't have enough lifetime to deal with it all. So how have you found your collecting habits now that you've got the kids, and now that you probably don't have quite so much time to watch, and especially now you've got 2 channels?
Yeah, I know. Well, what I try to do on my channel is I really, with my Movie Room channel, I don't know where to go with it, and I'm thinking of maybe just doing it on physical media now. I think I've tried too many things with it, and I think I just want to try and stick to one thing on that, but I'd like to make it just maybe physical media focused with the odd movie review. But with me Movie Scream channel, I try to film about 4 videos in one go and then just edit them through the week. That's how I try and do it. But yeah, it's tough, man. It is tough. I'm definitely not watching as much as I'd like, but I'm hoping when they're a little bit older, it might be a little bit easier. But my newborn just constantly wants attention and stuff. So at the minute, me and my wife are watching Goosebumps, the new Disney Plus show. I used to love Goosebumps as a kid.
Right.
And they're just like 45-minute episodes. So they're mainly just what we watch, one of them a night now. I do squeeze the odd film in through the week, but it's mainly weekends now. But I still managed to watch about 20 films last month somehow. I don't know how I've done it.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah. Well, I say about 17, 18, but I usually try to get like around the 25 mark at least. But yeah, it is harder. It is harder. But with regards to physical media, I used to, when I first started collecting, I used to just buy anything. But now I will try and only buy quality. I will only try and buy films that I either want to see or I have seen and I know that I want them in my collection. I don't just pick up any, like, I do the odd blind buy, but it's hardly as much as I used to, put it that way. Or if you hear YouTubers talk about films and stuff, maybe I'll pick it up then.
Yeah. If you get a good vibe about it and plenty of people talking it up, then yeah, sometimes it's worth checking out. I've massively myself had to curb the whole blind buying, and I mean, saying that, obviously these box sets, Bryn had it, and I was like, yeah, I want to have a go. I have no idea what they're like. And actually the artwork did make me think that they were going to be pretty good, but hey, I did enjoy it. So, but I mean, I don't get to the shops quite so much, and money's tight as for all of us and everything. So I've really had to wind back on what I'm putting my money in. And then thankfully pre-orders seems to be the sort of the best way, because especially if you order 3 or 4 things and they're not all coming out at the same time.
Yeah.
And obviously most labels, apart from 88, don't take your money until it's released. I understand why 88 take it straight away. They need that money to produce it in the first place. So as long as you keep a track of what you've been pre-ordering, because it can soon disappear and soon build up. So I have these color notes, like a notepad on your phone, and I just write them on there. I've got all the studios and labels and everything, and keep track of it that way and tick them off as I go. And then you just have to get into a
rhythm,
organized routine. Yeah, a rhythm. Rhythm could be quite
a rhythm can be expensive. I know what you're saying. More organized.
So actually I'm glad that 88 and Arrow of late, and some of the other labels, have been sticking to the martial arts stuff. I'm sure I could get into them, but I'm just steering clear of it for the moment. It's allowed me to just sort of hold out for some Shout Factory stuff and some of the titles that I've seen, and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's good.
I know what you mean. The martial arts stuff for me is not something I gravitate towards, and I see so many people picking it up, and I would like to get into a few of them and stuff. But if 88 and stuff were just releasing horror, I would have no money left.
Exactly.
If they were doing that on a horror scale, that'd be bad for my wallet, and who knows, maybe they will soon. But have you got anything on pre-order, by the way? I was just speaking there. I think Second Sight do take money now as well, because I pre-ordered something from them and they took the money the other day. So, and it's not out till November. So
yeah, I think so the last Second Sight I had on order would have been the Texas Chainsaw.
Oh yeah, I got that myself.
And so let me open my list. Let's try and stop my brain from hurting too much, and just pre and normal orders, right? So I've got the Toxic Avenger box set on order. Whoops, you turned your phone.
What happened there?
I don't know, mate.
My phone?
It went sideways.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Don't know what happened there.
No,
I
are we
didn't even
back to
touch the
normal?
phone and it went sideways.
Yeah. So I've got the Hellraiser. I've gone for the Chatterhead version, the Arrow Store exclusive,
Yeah,
as opposed to the more, it's not generic, but the more widely available one. And then of course I've just ordered the Chucky.
right.
This time I went for the non-store exclusive one because I preferred the artwork on the yellow background rather than the blue.
Yeah, I do as well.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on the artwork, but it just clashed with the blue. So yeah, so this is what. So I got Amazon, then I've got US, France, and America. eBay, Zavvi, 88, Arrow, HMV, Blue Underground, Eureka, 101, Final Cut, Network. Sadly, no more. Second Sight, Severin, Signal One, Powerhouse, Vinegar Syndrome. It's ridiculous.
Are these all the pre-orders you've got going?
No. That's just the
What
who
you
I
order from? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be bankrupt if I was ordering from all of them.
I was gonna say.
But at the moment, I've got so Wow HD is my source for a lot of American SKUs that don't import over here. And I've had The Train, which is a World War II film, My Bloody Valentine, and it's the first time I'd seen it. Because I'm quite particular, as I think a lot of us are, about what versions we have. Because I'd missed it, all the steelbooks and everything and nice editions had gone, and I wasn't paying through the nose for them. So I thought something's bound to happen, something's bound to come out, or we'll get a UK release or something. And then of course, Shout Factory announced their 4K, and I was like, right, straight on that. So I've had Night of the Comet, Night of the Demons, and Pumpkinhead, and I've got.
Yeah, I really want to see that.
Yeah. I've got the 1980s version of the Blob on its way, and I've got Cujo. Cujo comes out later this month. So yeah, I've had to, like I said, thankfully they've been spread out over different months. And yeah, I've really had to keep an eye on things because obviously the bigger box sets are more expensive. And if you got one each month, it's a bit more manageable. But if some reason they just end up all in the same month, then you're kind of screwed, aren't you? Unless you can save.
Especially when some of them, like the Chucky ones, £100 and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, oh god, do I wait? I probably could, because obviously you still got, while it's under pre-order, if they suddenly get 100,000 pre-orders and they were only going to do 10,000, they're clearly going to make more, aren't they? That's why the pre-order exists. So, but yeah, I just think, no, I want that. I'm definitely going to buy it. So I'm not going to hang around.
Yeah. If you know you want it, mate, don't you?
Yeah. So what have you got? You got anything on the way?
I've only got High Tension from Second Sight on 4K because I wanted that on Blu-ray for quite a while, and it was out of print and it was going for like 20 quid on eBay. It was actually called Switchblade Romance, but they've just announced. Is my phone gone sideways again?
No.
Sorry. I was just looking at the screen. It went sideways for a second, but it's okay now. Yeah, I've got that on pre-order. And I also ordered Bull, which is already out from Second Sight in the same order, but they haven't delivered it yet. So I'm assuming it's got to come with that, which is a bit of annoying. I'd rather have it now, but it's one of them. I'll wait. But yeah, that's mainly it. And the other two I've got on pre-order are PlayStation games. So that's the only thing I've actually got Blu-ray wise on pre-order. I did have the Psycho box set, but I've already got that now. I know you picked it up as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it, but obviously there's so many amazing films out there, and so many great decades that have amazing films. you can't have seen everything. I mean, I did witness the Psycho experience at Universal Studios. I don't know if it's there anymore, but and I was talking about this to my mate the other night. I grew up sort of hearing that you never find out who does the killings, and so I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. And so when you watch the demonstration, you see the shower scene, and they show you how the special effects and the camera moves and this, that, and the other were done, but you still never find out who did it. So of course, at the end of the film, you get this the explanation from the detective, and I figured, okay, he's just kind of told us. But then I thought, no, hang on. Yes, physically it's one person, but it's actually two, and you still never know which one did it.
Yeah. Great film, Psycho. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like. Do you want me and my wife? I will get to the comments, everyone, in just a second. I know there's just some comments there. I will get to them now. But I just want to say, do you know what I always laugh at? I don't know if you remember the way he says it on Psycho, but he goes, "So are we going to say that he done the killings?" And he goes, "Yes." And no.
Yeah.
It's such a cheesy line.
His
But
performance in Psycho was just mind blowing. You know, we've all seen many performances. It was the nuances, the change in sort of just from word to word, and he's listening, and suddenly his face changes, and I'm like, oh wow.
yeah, it's a great performance.
Mm.
Have you seen the other ones yet?
Yeah, obviously, you know, my channel's quite small at the moment, but that was my most successful video, was my unboxing. Because
I seen it. You had about 1,000 and odd views, didn't you?
Yeah, it was like, you know, it hit 1,600 views. I'm like, wow. I got it on the Wednesday, and it was coming out on the Monday after that. That's just to do with the you know, my postal system around here. They just seem to sort of think, oh well, we've got it, let's deliver it to him. So I thought, right, I got an opportunity here, do the unboxing. So I did. Clearly that worked. And then I thought, right, I need to watch all 4 of these films before Monday and try and get some reviews out. I think I got it out like midnight on Sunday or something. So just about beat Monday. But I got my 2 reviews of 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4. And you know, all first time views. And there's so a lot of people obviously say the second one is a brilliant sequel, and yes, I would agree, and I can see why they say that.
I agree.
I actually think the third was better. I found it darker, I found it more intense, and it just resonated with me more. But then the fourth one, I liked where they were going. I know a lot of people don't like, oh, we don't need backstories, we don't need to know this or that. I do. I like that. I like to have a much bigger, broader spectrum of what is going on
in the universe of it.
Yeah. Because suddenly something they reveal in those films, and then you.
By the way, Trevor, I still haven't seen 3 or 4.
Yeah, but then I won't say anything. But what I'm saying is, as you watch these other films that give you backstory, and you go back to the original, and you're like, oh, suddenly a bit that didn't really just went by is actually quite significant.
Yeah.
And it just gives you a much better experience. The fourth one is probably the worst out of the 4, but it's still a pretty good film.
I bet you had a good time watching them 4 then.
I did, mate. Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Right, Tom says, just watched Invasion of the Body Snatchers for the first time. You've seen it? Some good practical effects in that. I've got to admit, Tom, I wasn't the biggest fan of this film. I watched it a while ago when Arrow first brought it out. I watched it then. I wasn't really into it, and I don't know what it is. Sometimes with Donald Sutherland films, I just can't get into them. It's not him. It's just the type of films that he seems to be in. I just can't really get into them. I don't know why. But have you seen this one, Trevor? Are you a fan? Or?
Definitely, yeah. I heard about it before Arrow's Steelbook, and I got that Steelbook. now I've got the 4K from, I think it's Shout Factory or Kino Lorber, one of the two. I would say watch the 50s one.
Yeah, haven't seen that yet.
That is actually scarier.
Right.
Now, obviously, we don't necessarily get scared. We enjoy the films. We love the special effects, and yeah, we like the odd jump scare here and there. There's something about the way the 50s one is done, and you have to put yourself in the 50s when you watch it, and you think, right, films like this haven't really been seen before. They've just gone through the Cold War and the missile crisis and everything like that. That film is frightening. It's brilliant. It's really nicely shot, really nicely acted, and I loved it. The remake, essentially the 78 one, I'd seen that first and I'd really enjoyed that. And yes, the special effects, the stuff on all the leaves and everything, and just little subtle things. And I think the transformations are pretty good. But somehow the cruder ones in the 50s one are more meaningful.
Right.
So yeah, maybe give the 50s one a go and then sort of try the 70s one again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose if you don't like or have trouble with a particular actor, then it's going to put you off, isn't it?
It's you've got me really intrigued to check that 50s one out now, though, because I like going back to that age of cinema. It just feels like it's got them films have got heart to them. Like, I'm not saying films haven't now, but you can just feel everything's gone into making them films as best as they can with what they've got to work with. And I love seeing that. It's like a golden age of cinema, the 50s and early 60s.
A lot of the ideas and concepts are pretty virgin. I mean, so with the Universal Monster ones, that back in the 30s and stuff, there's some groundbreaking stuff in there. I mean, look at the Invisible Man.
Yeah.
I know how it's done now, but you look at that and he unwraps himself and he disappears. It's like, how? Now we can press a few buttons on CG and it's done.
Yeah. Which is sort of takes the charm out of it. You can't blame people for doing it, but it does take a little bit of the charm away, doesn't it? I suppose.
Yeah. So when you watch, sorry, carry on.
Go on, Chad.
I was going to say, so when you watch something like Oppenheimer, and he's, I know it's off topic a bit, but he's gone with practical effects, and I saw it in the IMAX, and so I got the full experience. It's like, yeah, this is a film. And then I watched the remake of My Bloody Valentine for one of my double bills last night, and I was like, this is just bland. It's shot digitally for the 3D effects, and it's just, there's no life to it. There's no organicness to it. The practical effects were pretty good, but I actually thought the effects in the first one, the original one, were better.
It's just like I've never actually seen the Thing prequel, but I've heard they just go CGI with that one instead, and it just looked way better than the 80s with the original Thing and stuff. So yeah, I know what you're saying. I can't get on board with CGI blood ever.
No.
I see a lot of films doing that lately, and I think Renfield might have done it, and I was just like, really?
It does look terrible. It becomes very obvious, doesn't it?
Yeah. So when I was younger, Paxton played Jay Hernandez in Hostel and was my favourite horror protagonist because how mad he gets at the end of Hostel. But I used to really like that movie. Now I think it's all right. Have you seen Hostel, Trev?
I love the Hostel films. So Paxton, who does he mean?
He's the main guy in Hostel, the guy with the black hair.
Yeah, the chunky guy. Yeah.
I don't know if he might be. He's the one who sort of escapes near the end and stuff with the Asian girl.
Yeah. He's good. They're great films. I mean, the first time I saw Hostel, that was scaring me. That was putting me on edge. And I'm like, okay, I'm watching a good film because it's doing that to me.
Yeah.
The second one takes it a little further, but doesn't really overdo it. And the third one, I'm just like, I know it's not Eli Roth, is it? It's just it was the Americans going, oh, we need to do this. Let's do our version. It's like,
yeah, straight to VOD, I think, as well, wasn't it?
Probably, yeah. But you don't always need a trilogy. He sort of concluded his story with the second one. So yeah, the Americans sort of jumped on it.
No, I think Hostel is actually a film that gets better with rewatch, but I must admit that's what scares me more than anything, Trevor, in horror films. It's the realism. Like if it's based on killers and stuff like that, that could be real. And this was a concept that I thought, does this really happen in the middle of Slovakia? You know what? I don't know, because it seemed so real. Yeah, and that got me a little bit there. But the second one, I like the way it explores how it all works a little bit more, like you said, where you see a bit more of the universe the film's in. I like the way it done that. The third one, I actually thought it was okay. It's not on par with the first two, though, but it was a bit silly and stuff, but I still enjoyed it.
As a standalone film, I watched them, it might have been a few months ago now, as a trilogy. And yes, watching the third one a second time, I appreciated it more. I thought to myself, okay, I always like to try and have my own link, my own reason for why. And sometimes it can make or break whether I like a film or not. And so my sort of thought is, well, okay, we've seen the stuff in Europe, but this is a worldwide thing which we don't know about. So why can't it happen in America? And why? So yeah, I always like to come up with a little reason, and it sort of gets me through it.
Yeah, I know what you mean, mate. Paxton isn't really that likable. I hate the way they do that thing in Hostel 2, where they've done it with they do it with Aliens and Terminator Dark Fate. Don't know if you've seen them films, Trevor. Yeah, where they just totally kill off the ending of the first film, and they've done it with his character to start Hostel 2, and I didn't really like the way they've done that, to be honest. I think he's okay, Paxton. He's a good protagonist, I think. But also watched the new Haunted Mansion, which was okay. But what's your favourite family-friendly horrors? Great question, Tom. I haven't seen Haunted Mansion yet, but me and my wife are planning on watching it around the next week or two, because it's Halloween and stuff. But you got any family-friendly horrors, Trev?
I suppose you can call Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
horror.
definitely.
Yeah.
I appreciate it at the start. It used to creep me out as a kid.
Yeah. Again, we're in the library.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what else? I mean, even the Goonies, there's bits of horror in it, elements. What else? I can't think of any. Just scouring my collection and.
I've got one. Have you seen The Witches? 1990.
I've probably seen, I think, Hocus Pocus. Yeah, there's a. I've probably seen a few. I'm just running a blank at the moment.
Well, the Witches. It's got Rowan Atkinson in, actually, but that was a dark film for a kids' film. Like at the start of the film, there's this girl getting dragged into an alley by a witch who's kidnapped and murdered her, and she's been watching her for weeks through the window. And it shows you watching her, planning on killing her and stuff, and she just drags it into the entry, and it used to freak me out as a kid. That is a bit extreme for a kid's horror film, I've got to say. But yeah, definitely worth a watch. That definitely. Family friendly horrors. I think you mentioned the two good ones there, Ghostbusters and Hocus Pocus. I used to love Hocus Pocus as a kid. Still do.
Yeah.
Shame the second one wasn't great.
One film that really got me as a kid, and only because it's a cartoon, Watership Down.
Oh yeah, I've never seen it, to be honest, but I've heard loads of people say it gets to them.
there's a, just don't spoil it, but there's a scene where there's a long shot of a silhouetted wood on a hill, and the field comes down in front of it, and that goes from sort of white with the sun setting, and it turns red. Now, I guess it's because it's meant to be the sun setting, but because of what's going on, there's something else, and that is a freaky thing. And then there's plenty of other freaky things. But I always found that when it was on, I wanted to watch it.
Right.
I guess it's that buzz again. It's like, it's going to scare me, but I wanted to watch it.
Yeah.
I really advise watching it. Not with your kids, though.
Yeah. Oh, that's a film I'll have to get to. It's quite a popular movie that I haven't seen, that one, but I have to get to that. Tom Matthews from Friday the 13th 6 playing Jobby Jarvis about 5 times. He's in other horror movies like Return of the Dead, I think it's called. He did 3 movies this year called Go Away, Final Son. Tom Matthews, Friday. Have you seen Friday the 13th 6, Trevor? What do you think of that one? I think it's one of the best, to be honest.
Which one's that?
It's the one called Jason Lives. It's the where he kind of comes back, and I think the lightning strike brings him out the cemetery.
Right. I've only seen the whole sort of franchise once. So Jason X, that's the one who goes to space, isn't it?
Yeah, that's that one.
Yeah. So yeah, 6. I think I remember the lightning strike. I don't really remember anything else of that. Now, Jason Does Manhattan was a letdown, because I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be nuts. You know, Jason Voorhees let loose in New York, and this is going to be carnage. And 2/3 of the film, they're going down a river. And I'm like, come on. And then it sort of gives you a little bit of what you expected at the end, and it's like, oh, come on, no, that was a waste.
I think it was filmed in Chicago as well. I think it wasn't even New York.
Yeah, okay. So Freddy versus Jason was it was quite good. I guess it was what we all wanted. These two giants in the horror industry going at each other. And how do you do that? I mean, if people watched that and thought, oh, it was rubbish, it was terrible, well, how do you do it? How do you make it good? But so yeah.
If you've only watched the franchise once, I suppose it's kind of foggy to remember them all in order, isn't it? There's still a couple I haven't seen. I haven't seen 5 and 7 yet, to be honest. They were the ones that were always the lowest rated. So as a kid, I never really seeked them out the video shop, and I really wanted to get to this Friday the 13th franchise for such a long time now, and I'm in 2 minds whether to watch it or watch it and review it. And I thought, I'm gonna have to make a commitment if I start reviewing them all. So I don't know what to do. Yeah, I might just watch them all, and then maybe in a year or 2, I don't know.
Yeah, get them watched so you can absorb them. And because I think if you just watch the review, I think it's going to give you a slightly skewed. But if you watch them, go away for a year, go back again and do it, I think you might appreciate them more and get more out of it.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
You want to enjoy, you know, it's like when I watch these things, I hope that I enjoy it. And not have to be concentrating and trying to think of this and this and this.
Yeah, I think you're right there, mate. I think that's the best way to go. Sorry for all the comments, guys. No, it's fine, mate. I mean, giving us something to talk about. Don't worry about it. I just like sharing my thoughts about horror. I watched The Hills of Eyes, so did Trevor, I think, a few months ago, and it's a good film. I didn't know the actor from X-Men was in it, so I'm thinking he's talking about the remake there, because I'm pretty sure if he's in X-Men, he must be in the remake. X-Men's quite the name.
I think I know which one he means. Now, Tommy, you need to go back and watch the original Hills Have Eyes. I think it's Michael Berryman's first film. Now, what a blessing to have a man like him for the way he is, and that he's such a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
He's lent himself to so many great horror films.
Yeah.
And no makeup.
Yeah.
But
seen him in a couple of horrors.
Yeah. I like the fact that there's a poster or part of a poster of The Hills Have Eyes in Evil Dead, and of course it's got Michael Berryman on it because it's the only obvious bit as to that's what the film is.
When you think of the poster or The Hills Have Eyes, he's the first thing I think of.
Yeah. So, right, the difference between the original and the remake. Now, the first time I watched the original, because it was scratchy, it was not very good quality audio, and this, that, and the other, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to that. I just sort of only half watched it, I suppose. And then I watched the remake with all the nice 5.1 surround sound, and it's all modern day and looks great and everything. I really liked it. Now I've gone back and watched the 4K of the original. I actually think the original is slightly better. I think just the way it plays out, and you have to remember this is the first one. This is the origin of it. It's still a relatively early film for Wes, and there's perhaps a bit more believable because the actors are really trying to get noticed. So many actors have started in horror films. Johnny Depp, the best example.
Yeah.
And so they're going to really put their effort in so other directors notice them. And I was like, I'm really enjoying this. And the fact that, it's shot on 16mm, so the 4K, it still looks really grainy and gritty and grimy. But then I think, well, this is how everyone saw it in the cinema. So I'm getting the same experience. It's great. And then the remake, it just intensifies everything. So obviously the special effects are better, and the story, I found some of the acting, it's like the actors are aware, this line is said in the original film, I want to do it justice, but I kind of want to make it my own. They're not exactly remaking the original. They're trying to make their own film. It just happens to be the same story. So I'm watching the back-to-back. I liked the remake slightly less than I did the first time I'd seen it. But I still give it 9 out of 10. And
seen you give them both a 9, didn't you?
Yeah. I think originally I probably gave the original one 8, and I've then bumped that up, so it's just evened out. And like I said, some of the acting, it's not bad acting, but I suppose because I've spoiled it by having the original fresh in my mind, and it's like, okay, that's that line and that's that, and so you're doing an instant comparison, aren't you? But Tommy, definitely get on and watch the original. And just be aware that it is lower budget. It's not going to have the kind of special effects that we have now. And just think of yourself being in the cinema and no one having seen films like that before.
And you're making me want to go back and watch the original again now, because when I did, I think I just preferred the remake. But now with all that, the way you're saying it's making me want to go and give it another go. The original, I love Wes Craven, but just remembering the remake, that scene where they run down into the caravan, into the RV, that's brutal. That is a brutal scene. I remember first watching it going, wow, I didn't know that was going to happen. Like some of the brutality there and the way where it goes and where it leads to. I was like, oh my god. But yeah, great remake. The Hills of Eyes, but yeah, I'm gonna have to give the original another go, I think. So Tom says random recommendations. The Loved Ones. Heard that's a great film. The Final Girls. Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. The Body. Revenge. Seen any? You seen any of them, Trevor?
No, I haven't. Oh, I'll tell you what. I'll write these down. It'd be silly to have these recommendations and not make note of them. So I'm all up for new things.
I'm just thinking. Go on, sorry.
No, carry on.
I was just going to say, is this Revenge? Is that the one Second Sight brought out? Yeah, it is. Second Sight brought that one out. I've wanted to watch that for a while. I can't believe I haven't seen any of them, Tom. But I have heard of Final Girls, The Loved Ones, and Revenge. But I haven't seen them.
I find it funny when, especially when Arrow started doing it, bringing out a film, and because you're so used to all these 80s and 90s films, and then suddenly it's like 2022, you're like, oh, where did this come from? Like The Stylist and is it The Last Matinee and that kind of thing? They're all pretty modern films.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Loved Ones.
I remember the 80s used to be 20 years ago. It's 40 years ago now.
My wife and I were sat in the Harvester, and I said to the waitress, I said, "Oh, I've been coming to these places for 30 years. No, for 40 years."
Yeah. Time just flies, man.
It does. It does.
Scout's Guide is the same director as Happy Death Day and Freaky, which I'm a fan of both of them films. So.
Can you just go back to the previous question? Sorry.
Oh, you're still writing them down?
Yeah, no, it's just like me at school. I was just as slow at school.
No, it's okay. Yeah, definitely want to see that Revenge, though, from Second Sight. Yeah, that's really good.
So what's your source for new films and what to check out?
To be honest, mate, I'm just on Twitter, mainly. Are you on Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mainly see just people posting about things on there. That's mainly where I see it. And sometimes I do look at Netflix and say what's coming and stuff. But yeah, it's mainly hearing it from Twitter, to be honest. It's still very hard to keep up. I try and keep an eye out for everything that's coming out, but it's still very, very hard to keep it up. There's just so much coming out.
Yeah. So you try for your channel purposes to sort of,
not just that. I do like to review newer films, but I'm always interested in new films as well. Like I do like modern horror, to be honest. I think it's getting better. I think there was a bit of a lull between the early 2000s and 2010. I thought it sort of went downhill a little bit there, but I think the last 10, 15 years it's been really good. And there's some interesting stuff out there if you can find it. But yeah, there was 4 horror movies that I was interested in that came out last Friday, the 6th of October. And I didn't know which order. I was like a kid in a sweet shop. I didn't know which order to watch them. But one of them was The Exorcist Believer. We had Totally Killer, VHS, and what was the other one? Oh, the Pet Sematary prequel. I've watched them all now.
Really?
So
there's a prequel?
Yeah, it's a prequel to the remake, though, not the original.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But it wasn't great, to be honest. But I was actually surprised. I watched the remake before it, and I wasn't big on that the first time, but I actually really enjoyed it the second time. It had a totally new outlook on it. So
good.
Yeah. Yeah, Pet Sematary.
Yeah. I've only seen the original, and only about a year ago as well. There's another film that I'm late to, the party with. But I've started to try and gather as many Stephen King ones as I can. It's funny, for years you didn't realize that The Running Man was a Stephen King story. He wrote it under a pseudonym, didn't he? So, but yeah, that's what I like about our YouTube community, and the vast amount of knowledge that we all have. People can mention a film or show it, they're saying, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing this film years ago," and they show it, and I'm like, "I've never heard of it in my life."
Yeah.
But then you're intrigued and you check it out. And you're like, "Wow, I can see why they enjoyed that." And yeah, your wallet goes, "No."
I know. No. Someone mentioned the film the other day. I think it's just come out now, and it's based on a short story by Stephen King. And I was like, I would never have knew that unless that person told me, because it just doesn't even seem like Stephen King. So yeah, it's good when you get them little facts and stuff from people, isn't it?
Yeah. So I suppose another modern horror film, the Terrifier ones.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
They're brilliant. I've got All Hallows Eve. I've yet to watch it yet because I know it's a different actor who plays Art the Clown in that one.
I think that's an anthology film as well.
Yeah, I believe so. So again, yes, it's not just about being in the mood to watch another Terrifiers thing, but an anthology. It's only 83 minutes, but yeah. Did you like the Collector films?
I've only seen the first one. Yeah, I thought it was quite good. I didn't love it, but I thought I enjoyed it enough. Yeah. But what about you? There's no new one meant to be coming out. It's meant to be coming out for a while or something.
Yeah, there was a third one that was supposed to happen. If they ever get it out, I don't know. I seem to recall reading up, having watched both of them fairly recently, that yeah, it's kind of fallen by the wayside. I don't know if someone knows whether it is actually going to get picked up and done. It would be good because it's been left for a third one, and the second one, it's got that same old thing with the second film and the bigger budget. It's like, wow, we've got all this budget. What do we do? And they just sort of throw all these things in. It's like, yeah. You didn't need that. And because the originals are quite bare bones, you miss that. You could say that about Terrifier 2, but actually that worked.
To be honest, I think he only made that film for £200,000, which is that's just unbelievable to me. That.
Yeah.
But I think when this third one comes out, he's going to have a massive budget, isn't he? Apparently, it's in the millions now, so I'm interested to see what he's going to do with it. So yeah, Art the Clown's such a new horror icon, isn't he? I think I just love watching him. But David Howard Thornton is actually a mime artist, isn't he? So I just think he pulls it off to a T. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually refreshing. We're used to our Freddys and our Jasons and this, that, and the other. So yes, we've had other clowns before, but this one, it's refreshing, and it is ultra dark. And you think, is he going to go there? Yes, he's going to go there, and then some.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what you want. You might be sort of sitting there going, "Oh," but it's what you put it on for.
I didn't think he was going to stop in one certain scene. I was like, okay, surely that's it now. And then it carried on and it carried on. I was like, oh my God. Scout's Guard is the same director as Happy Death Day and Freaky. Yeah, I enjoyed it in films. Have you seen them, Trev?
I've heard of Happy Death Day. I'm not sure I've seen Freaky. No, I haven't seen Freaky.
Freaky is quite good. It's Vince Vaughn and this girl, Kate. Oh, I forgot her name, Catherine something. She's in the new Ant-Man film, and she sort of, he's a killer and he kills her, but at the same as he kills her, she goes into his body and he goes into hers, sort of thing. Right. She becomes the killer. Then it's like a body swap movie. It's silly. It's a horror comedy, but
so it's quite the horror version of Freaky Friday, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is, mate. I watched Fright Night, the old one, and thought it was pretty all right. Over the top, though. You fan of Fright Night, Trev?
Again, I don't think I've seen that one. I think I got mixed up with what's the one that Michael J. Fox is in? The Frighteners.
Yeah, The Frighteners. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen that. Can't remember it, but I've seen that. And then, of course, when everyone's talking about Fright Night, and they're like, "Oh, it's a classic film, and it's way up there," I'm like, what? And then it's like, oh, I got the wrong film.
Yeah. No, I think it's pretty good, but I know what Tommy's saying there, a bit over the top. I do think the third act goes a little bit over the top, but it's still a fun, very, very fun vampire film. I think it's definitely worth a go. I think Eureka have got it on their labels. Worth a shot.
Yeah.
I think it's Eureka anyway. That's the end of the comments, Trev. I'm just going to go through a few things here that we mainly talked about them. Is there any? Yeah, I haven't asked you this one. Is there anything you've been watching lately that's horror-wise? I should have started with this one really, but in the past couple of weeks, what's some standout horror that you've watched, or maybe the past month?
Well, obviously, at the moment, I've just been doing my double bills, and most of them were started with the Night of the Living Dead and stuff like that. So I'm just going to my list, my watch list. So what's
You on Letterboxd by any chance?
No, I've heard you use it and whatnot, but
Brilliant, so, need to keep it soft.
Do you know the film The Nest from 1988?
No, I haven't seen that one.
That was one of the ones that I watched when I was unemployed on my phone, and I finally got round to getting it on Blu-ray. That was really cool. What else? Horror-wise, oh, Macabre. That's on the 88 label in the Italian collection. That is.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of it, mate. Yeah, but I haven't seen it. To be honest.
Who is it? Lamberto Bava. So I think it's Mario Bava's son. Yeah, that's a different one. It's like, did they actually go there? It's like, okay, they did. Right, I'm onto this. Why not? Let's go. And yes, it's got that sort of 70s, 80s Italian. Well, it's an Italian film, so it's going to. But sometimes you watch them and they're a bit like, but as I got through it, and I was like, yeah, because then I look at the actress and think, okay, she's put herself through that, and she's gone there in her head, and she's devoted to this, and I'm like, yeah, I actually quite like that. I did give it a 7 out of 10, but so I rewatched Nightmare, which is actually Nightmares in a Damaged Brain in the UK, one of the video nasties.
Was that on 101 Films?
88 had it on the Slasher collection.
Right.
But I've got the Severin Films 4K I ordered from the US. So obviously Bumper and I are doing our 39 series. It's kind of been on hold a little bit at the moment, but the last one we watched was Expose, or House on Straw Hill. And it's what's his name? Edo, the German actor. Is it Edo Cohen? Can't remember his name now. But that was actually quite different. Not quite as horror as some of the video nasties. I mean, not all of the video nasties were horrors anyway.
Yeah.
That was quite different. I've tried again with The Fog. Yeah,
I'm with you, man.
I just can't get on with the pace of some of John Carpenter's films. Now, obviously, the one that's timed and paced perfectly is The Thing. And yeah, I mean, how do you make a film about fog and it being scary? And I get that. But yeah, I found the remake a bit more interesting. It was a bit faster paced. It kind of kept me involved, and it showed a little bit more. The Maurice Lesting works, but not in this case. I wanted to see the faces of the sailors and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it feels like you promised them, and then you don't really see them. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
What else have I seen? Motel Hell. You heard that one?
Bit of it, yeah. There's a Vestron release of that, isn't it? Is that one?
There's it's an 88 slasher.
Oh no, sorry, I'm thinking of something Diner. Motel Hell. I've heard of that one, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the Blood Diner for some reason.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Yeah.
It
I
does
went
seem
to buy it for 2 for 15, but it's sold out.
yeah. Always the way, always the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the 4K of that Motel Hell, and that was a pretty cool watch. What else? Burial Ground. Now, Burial Ground, when 88 brought that out, I brought it after they brought it out. And I remember watching it, and it was one of those moments where you look at the front cover, you look at the front cover, and it's like, okay, so I'm guessing this sort of thing's in the film. And I swear, I'm like, where's all the zombies? I must have kept falling asleep every time a zombie was about to come on screen, because when I watched it more recently, there's more zombies in that film than I think in any other zombie film.
When you were saying that, I was thinking, I'm sure there was quite a lot of zombies in that when I watched it.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
And actually, it's a really good zombie film. I would like to see it, or did I watch it in the original language? Yeah, I think I did watch it in the original language, because I find some of the dubs a bit too comedic.
Yeah,
and
I
it
know.
really pissed me off.
I like, you know what about them films? I just think it's funny the way the first thing they all do when they get to that house is just take all the clothes off.
Yeah.
It's the same in all them films, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been watching some really old school horror there, like low budget horror, really, haven't you? I used to watch them all the time, man. I need to get back into them. But yeah, I was going to say, have you seen Night of the Creeps? I watched that for the first time.
No, I don't think I have.
Yeah, it was all right. It was a good little 1986 movie about these zombies and the school and stuff. It was quite good, actually. Quite a fun movie. Obviously, I watched the new Exorcist, but you're not a fan, are you, of The Exorcist, I believe? Or
I need to watch that again. It's unfair for a film that's held in such high stature. It's unfair for me to sit here and say it's boring or whatever. Yes, I was bored, like I said in my comment, but I was obviously missing something. So yeah, I need to watch it again.
Yeah. No, fair enough, man. You're not the only person to say that. Don't worry about it. Everyone's different. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
But yeah, the newer one was a real disappointment. To be honest, I didn't expect much anyway, but I was bored to tears in the cinema. Okay, Trev, should we just go for like a few more minutes, or?
We'll go for a few more minutes. So you
Yeah.
haven't seen Stigmata, Constantine, or End of Days?
No, my sister always used to tell me to watch Constantine, and I should really watch it. End of Days is an Arnold Schwarzenegger film. Yeah, I've got an Arnold Schwarzenegger ranking there, and I've seen so many of his films, but that isn't one of them. And most Stigmata, I was actually going to pick this up from CEX. It was like £1, and I didn't.
It's a good film. I mean, they're all good films. With End of Days, we're so used to watching Arnie in a certain way, but to be this broken down cop, this drunk, it's like, okay, this is a different role. How does he handle this? And I think he handles it really well. It's Gabriel Byrne's in both, isn't he? Stigmata and End of Days.
I don't know, mate. I couldn't tell you. Gabriel Byrne. He probably, I can find out, but yeah, cool.
Yeah, I think he is. Not as the devil in both of them, but yeah, I think it sort of shocked me, because although you could argue Terminator is an out and out horror film because it just follows the slasher template like nobody's business. To me, End of Days is like a full on horror film for Arnie. And I really liked it. Stigmata again was another one that you find a bit creepy. You find yourself sort of. Constantine is it's a good film. It's kind of just a bit Hollywood. And you've got your Keanu Reeves and Rachel Weisz. She's in it with doing a fairly not poor American accent, but you can tell she's not American. But yeah, you definitely need to check them out, mate.
Three recommendations for me there.
Yeah.
No, I will get to that. The End of Days especially is one that I've just wanted to get for a while, man. So yeah, I will. I love Arnie. He's my hero growing up. So I've seen so many of his films, just haven't got to that one. I think part of the problem is the Blu-ray here in the UK. I don't think you can. I think it's out of print. So I think Rare Waves have got it though. So I'll have to try and get it off there.
Yeah. Go on. Is that another question?
Go on, Trev. It's okay.
Yes, it's like, do you watch the DVD or is that going to detract from it? Because sometimes it can. Obviously, with the older horror films, actually a crusty DVD can really add to it.
Yeah.
But with a film like that, yeah, maybe you want the Blu-ray. So
I think it's only about £15 on Rare Waves when I'm seeing it. I should just grab it, to be honest. Maybe this weekend I'll grab it because I tend to buy a few movies every weekend. So
yeah.
It's been on my list for a long time. Who's your favourite Corey Feldman character in the horror genre? That's a mad question, that one, Tommy, but I've got an answer, and I don't think it's going to be Tommy Jarvis. What about you?
Yeah, so in the horror genre, I only really remember him from Lost Boys, and of course, he's in all 3 films, isn't he?
That was going to be my answer as well.
Yeah. I mean, what else has he been in horror-wise?
He's been in The Babes as well, which is horror comedy, I suppose.
Yeah, that's been a while since I've seen that. I brought it on DVD, but I think it's not disturbed me, but just sort of like, yeah, this is a bit weird for me. So I just haven't gone back to it again yet. But yeah, Corey Feldman is one of these people that does sort of pop up here, there, and everywhere. And of course, I watched him in The Goonies the other night with my friend, and he's just absolutely brilliant in that.
Yeah. I thought that was a bit of a strange question, but when I think about it, he's been in a few horror films, hasn't he? So it wasn't actually that bad of a question, actually. Have you seen the Midnight Meat Train with Vinnie Jones and Bradley Cooper? I haven't, but I know exactly what it is. Have you seen that one, Trev?
I did a video talking about all. So you've got from the 70s with Donald Pleasance, you've got Deathline, which in the US is called Raw Meat. Then you've got the was it 2004 film Creep?
Yeah, in the subway.
Yeah. And then of course, yes, you've got Midnight Meat Train. Now, once we started seeing Vinnie Jones in Lock, Stock, and that kind of thing, and it's a bit gimmicky because he's a Londoner, and when I started seeing him in his own films, I'm like, he's doing all right. And so out of the 3, I don't think any of them are actual remakes of Deathline, but because they're on the London Underground or the New York subway, then it's hard not to put them next to each other. But Bradley Cooper in Midnight Meat Train, I mean, he's a brilliant actor anyway. So yeah, he really does take you on his journey with him. And it's a very good film. I really, really do like it. And I like Vinnie Jones's character.
Again, I'm guessing he's the killer, isn't
it? He's one of these sort of villains, but there's a kind of a good reasons to why he's doing it.
Okay.
So at first you're like, oh, this guy's evil, bad, this, that, and the other. But then actually there's more to it than you're first led to believe. But actually, going back to Deathline, I can't remember what put me onto that. That's on the network label. maybe another channel mentioned it or whatever, and or I just saw a trailer or something and thought, oh, this is similar to Creep. Again, it's that sort of origin, and you're sort of thinking, wow, they went there, they did that. It's like, oh, okay. And I'd like to see these films because I like to see London back in the day, and it's like watching you time travel a little bit, don't you? Because the surroundings are from when you were younger, and that sort of thing, and not so much the hustle and bustle that there is now.
Yeah. It's weird when films come out like that, because it's happened a few times where you get a film and then a very similar film will come out at the same sort of time, even sometimes the same year. I've seen that happen a few times with films, but yeah, like you said, them three were like over the course of 5 years or something.
Yeah, so there's actually a name for that, because it happened with Armageddon and Deep Impact. They came out the same year, same subject, and there was another film, one that Christopher Nolan did. Oh, about the magicians.
Prestige.
Yeah, and what's the other one? There's the counterpart with Edward Norton. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh.
But I know Jeff from Films at Home talked about it. He did a whole video on this specific thing. Because I remember sort of growing up thinking, because I saw Deep Impact at the cinema, and I think I saw Armageddon at the cinema. I can't remember. But yeah, I remember thinking, oh, my theory was that someone come up with an idea. Someone runs to another studio, especially in Hollywood, and says, "Hey, they're making this. We better do our own." And
We better get there first. I think with Volcano and Dante's Peak might have may have been the same year as well.
Same deal
It seems to be disaster movies, don't they?
Oh yeah. Why not?
But yeah, hey Movie Worm and Double Bill Movies. Hope you guys have spared, but having a great day. Thank you, Mahanju.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it, mate. And he's got a message for you here, Double Bill Movies. I've recently stumbled across your YouTube channel and given you a sub. I also watched your Psycho boxing box set unboxing, and it was awesome. Loved it. I have the Psycho set too.
Oh, well,
so he's one of them 1,600 people who watched it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for watching that. I'm glad you stumbled across the channel. I've got plenty of other stuff for you to go and watch. So
thanks for coming along, mate. I know you were on my movie stream the other week when I was with Sam. So thank you so much for getting involved in the comments, my friend. I know this is not a horror question, but who's your favorite good guy in action movies and villain? Because good guy probably John McClane, and for villain I like Simon from Demolition Man. Great picks there.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh wow, that's a good question. So who have we got? We got John McClane. We got Mel Gibson. So he's Martin, whatever his name is in Lethal Weapon. I mean, essentially, they're sort of the same thing, aren't they? Just done it in a different way.
Yeah.
The Die Hard and the Lethal Weapon films. And then you've got Rambo, I suppose. So who's the favourite? I like his choice for Simon. What a sinister man he is in that film.
When he just kicks all the police officers' ass by the phone box when they're all saying stop, and then he just takes them all on. One of them's trying to escape.
Yes. Oh, how can I help you, sir? What seems to be your problem?
I love when one's trying to drive away and he goes, "Hey, wait for me," and then just kicks the windscreen through.
Yeah. I mean, villains, there's been so many. I mean, Hans Gruber is, the fact it was like his first role as well, not his first role, his first major film anyway. He is also very dark and very sinister, just the way he handles Mr. Takagi, is that the name?
Yeah.
And I mean, so the villains in Lethal Weapon are just a bit more. Got lots of money and this, that, and the other. Don't pay them much attention, really. Rambo is just different villains, isn't it?
I think Terminator 2 is a good one with Arnie and Robert Patrick. I think that's a perfect combination. But
yeah. Yes, because you look at Robert and you think, compared to Arnie, he's very slight. He's very quite small, and you could probably say boo to him and he'd fall over. But once he puts that face on and starts running at you, you turn and run yourself.
I love the way Cameron just spun that on its head. Instead of going for someone bulkier and bigger, he just went the total opposite and threw everyone off. I love the way he done that.
Yeah, very clever. I love the story where Arnie talks about, he was talking to James and they're talking about Michael Biehn's character, and oh yeah, you're gonna play this guy, and is it Arnie that sort of says, well,
yeah, Arnie didn't really want to play him, did he? He wanted to be the good guy.
Yeah.
I think James Cameron painted him as the Terminator.
Right.
And then from what I've seen anyway, he painted him as the Terminator because James Cameron's a great artist.
Right.
I said, look, I just want to show you this. And Arnie turned around and went, I am the Terminator.
But isn't he, though? Isn't he just, one thing I've said to people, once that skin comes off and it's just the endoskeleton, I have no recollection of, I'm not watching Arnie anymore. I'm still watching Arnie because we've seen all that movement through him.
Yeah.
And it's incredible.
It's like a CCTV camera, the way he looks around, isn't he? Like, it's the way he moves his eyes and stuff. Good question, mate. Thanks for that one, Tommy. Are you guys looking forward to the Hellraiser set from Arrow? I've offered for the chat of a slip, please. It's Arrow exclusive. I've been in two minds about grabbing this because I own the three of them on Blu-ray. But I know you're getting Bloodline in this, and to have them on 4K, I hardly ever double dip, but the Bloodline one is making me want to pick it up. So I'm still in two minds. I can't make my mind up, but I know you've ordered it, haven't you, Trev?
Yeah. I mean, I've got the get this around the right way. You probably can't see it very well.
On the top, I can see it. Check them on in.
So I got that on eBay actually for a pretty good price. Yeah, obviously I'm going to keep that, and because that's obviously got some Clive Barker stuff in there, isn't it? So like early films and things like that. But again, I like watching them on Blu-ray. I'm starting to have a bit of a, not a hate for the Blu-ray format, but I'm not liking the way it's been treated. As I've said in one of my recent videos, watching 4K, we're now seeing films as they were meant to look and how they looked in the cinema when they were shown in 35mm, and the color palettes we're getting on Blu-ray are kind of so far removed from that. When you've got no comparison, you kind of don't mind very much. But now when I'm watching them, I'm like, hang on, that's why I didn't enjoy the film very much on Blu-ray, because it didn't look right.
Yeah.
So,
I think. Go on, sorry. I was just going to say, I sort of noticed this with Clockwork Orange when I compared them. Clockwork Orange is very, very bright on Blu-ray, but 4K, it's not as bright, but it's just more crisp. And I definitely prefer the 4K. And sort of, I don't know if that's the Blu-ray format or just, I don't know what it might be what you're saying, but I definitely I've seen a big difference in it.
Now, obviously, we've got HDR with the 4K format. So that allows us to have much brighter brights and much darker darks. Now, somewhere in my playlist is a video called "Is Blu-ray Too Bright?" and actually that got quite a few views. And this was about the time when some 4Ks were starting to come out and people were noticing how dark they were. and that then prompted me to go on to do something as to why they're so dark. And yeah, literally, I think every Blu-ray we have is too bright. When I watch various horror films, so you think about if you had nightmares as a kid, or it got dark and you wanted a light on because you didn't like the shadows. You were wary. If you've got this amazing picture and you can see everything on screen in a horror film, it's not dark. It's not that environment that scares you.
Yeah.
Now, Friday the 13th is probably the best example. Going from the Blu-ray, I've yet to put that video up, but I've got some screenshots of both my Blu-ray from, if I can point to it, that.
I think I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Jason on the front of that tin.
Has he got a machete as well?
And then, sorry,
has he got a machete in his hand as well?
Yes, he has. Yeah. And then of course the 4K that came out. Some people said, oh, it's really, really dark, and all of a sudden you've lost a lot of the image that was on screen before. The reason being, you weren't supposed to see all that. Now we got to remember that when you light a scene for any film, but especially for film, you have to overlight it to overexpose it, so then you can darken down the image to what you want.
Yeah.
Because if you don't capture it in the first place, it's not there to be seen, so you can't brighten it up. And so for some reason, HD can go quite dark and it can actually go quite bright. I don't know why they made these films so bright, unless it was to give us that wow factor.
Yeah, I think that's what it probably is, isn't it? It's like, oh, look at this Blu-ray format we've got here, look how colourful it is and stuff like that. And,
I mean, I remember watching Dog Soldiers the first time on a DVD, and then seeing clips of it or something, and sort of thinking, well, hang on, that's not as dark as I remember. It was scary because I was seeing more silhouettes of the werewolves. Now I can see the whole room and it's all bright, and so that's what was wrong. I've yet to watch the 4K of it. I watched the Blu-ray because I got the box set before I had my 4K setup, knowing that the content on the Blu-ray was the same as the 4K, just without the HDR. So I was like, okay, that's a bit better. Now I know it will be even darker still when I get the 4K on the screen. So yeah, it's definitely the sort of the mystic part, the sort of, as I said, the shadows have been missing on Blu-ray because the image has been too bright.
Yeah, interesting take, mate. I never really actually thought of it like that. I've only ever gone off the Clockwork Orange thing, is it? But yeah, interesting take, mate. A little bit of info there. There's a lot of questions coming in from my handle. Sorry, I keep snapping. Sorry, mate. But thank you so much. But I don't think we're gonna get to all of them, I'm afraid, mate, because we've been going for 2 hours nearly now, and I've got work at 6 in the morning. So
that's fine.
We'll answer a couple more and then we'll wrap it up, I think. Why do you think Spider-Man, the first one, is the best out of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies? It's just the one I watched more than anything, to be honest, mate. I remember that first come out and I was blown away by it. But I've only seen the second one once, I think. So I know a lot of people think the second one's better, but I'd have to watch that again, to be honest. But I just love the first one. I've seen it so many times. Are you a fan of them films?
I think it's just that, I think it's just that whole core story again. It's that origin, isn't it? And it's that simple, gritty, the Goblin, Spider-Man, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Once you start exploring lots of other things, then your mind's torn here, there, and everywhere. So
it's a good setup story and everything, isn't it? The first one, it does a lot to get to A to B, really. I love Lost Boys 3. I've never seen it.
I need to watch those again. I've got the Blu-ray box set of all three films, and again, possibly the image quality was something that put me off a little bit. But yeah, they're not the best films, and the special effects do look a bit. Bleh. But it's good that someone likes it.
I need to watch. I heard some YouTubers just say how bad they were, so I stayed away from them, to be honest. Creep 2004 is a good film. Yeah.
Yes, well, that's the one
Yeah.
we were talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Go on,
I would
Peter.
love to see that on. Well, I would love to see it on Blu-ray because I've only got it on DVD. I don't think it's out on Blu-ray. But that
No,
to
I don't
me,
think it.
the picture is such a nice image that I think it needs a 4K. Especially as it's that director's one of his first films. I would like to see someone like Arrow or 88. It seems like a film that they would pick up, especially as it's British. You know, yeah, it's a very good film.
Yeah, it's frustrating sometimes when you want these films to come out, isn't it? And they just don't. Like I've got nothing against Arrow upgrading to 4K some of their films. That's fine, but I kind of wish there's some films I just wish to get hold of, to be honest. But right, Mahanjo's put a lot of comments in here to keep our conversation going, but I just want to answer a couple from them and then we'll wrap it up because I don't want to.
I'm easy, okay.
Yeah, I just don't want to leave him out. You know what I mean? Because he's put a lot in there. So, films I would like to recommend to you: both Eden Lake, Identity, Pacific Heights, 1 Hour Photo, The Good Son, Breakdown, and Unlawful Entry. And then he goes on to say, have you seen any of those? Eden Lake is not a pleasant time or viewing. It's absolutely horrific and sad. So I'll put the question back on there, what the films you recommended. So you seen any of them, Trev?
Yeah, I've seen Eden Lake. Have you seen it?
Yeah. It's brutal.
Yeah, I was like, okay, wow.
It's like the ending of The Mist. It's got the same sort of vibe. I think it's just, did that really happen?
1 Hour Photo is pretty creepy as well, especially when it's Robin Williams, and you're like, okay, this guy used to make us laugh. Now he's making me creep out.
Yeah, it's a good film. Yeah. It's very, very strange at the start of the movie where he's like the family walk away and then he's making his own copy. Oh no, he goes to his house and that family's all on his wall. I just think it's so weird. Identity, I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
No.
Pacific Heights.
No.
I think it's the one with the Michael Keaton in, and I'm dying to see this movie because the guys on, I don't know if you follow Scott the Movie Critic and Playtendo guy, Pete.
Yeah.
They're always talking about this film on their live streams, and I really want to watch it. The Good Son, I've seen that. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen any of these others. I've only seen Eden Lake and 1 Hour Photo.
The Good Son is Macaulay Culkin and Elijah Wood when they're both about 10 years old, and the cousins. And Elijah Wood goes to stay with Macaulay Culkin because I think his mum died or something. And Macaulay Culkin's a little asshole. He's a horrible kid, and it's really good actually. Breakdown is one I really want to see as well because they're always talking about that on the channel. Kurt Russell going on a bit of a revenge mission, I think. And Unlawful Entry, I think that's Ray Liotta. That's one I want to see as well. These are films that they always talk about on their stream, and I really want to see them.
Yeah.
And he's also gone to say, also Buried with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, good film.
Yeah, I see. This is me and my weird sort of technical. I bought the film, and I looked at the back, and the aspect ratio was, I think it was 2:3:5, and I thought I'd seen some images somewhere where it was basically 16:9, and I thought, well, they've chopped a load of the picture off. So I wanted to get the Dutch version, had the full frame rather than, because obviously you can shoot a film in different ways. You either make it widescreen and you frame it so you got lots of things in there, or you do it in such a way and then you just blank the top and bottom. So the image is there, but you just put blank on it. And then of course you get people like this instead of this.
Yeah.
And that can bug the hell out of me sometimes. So I haven't actually watched it yet. But yeah, I did want to see Buried. One, because I like Ryan Reynolds. Two, because I like films that take place in a single location.
Mm.
And three, I'm intrigued to see how they can make a whole film of a guy in a box.
Do you know what, man? It flies by as well. You're just like, how has that film gone so fast? But it's just about one location. It's good. I recommend it.
Yeah.
I'm going to end on this next one because it's a film that I love. Will you be picking up The Hitcher on Second Sight release next year? I think many, include myself, have been waiting for that deluxe 4K release now. Lol. Are you a fan of The Hitcher, Trev?
I haven't seen it, but this will probably be a blind buy for me. Yeah, so I suspect I'll be putting my name on the list for waiting for that 4K as well.
I actually own a German media book. It's the only way you can get it on Blu-ray, I think. And it's a nice edition, it is. But I love the film that much. I will double dip on this one. I don't want to miss out on this set because it's been getting talked about for years. I think Second Sight know what they're doing by bigging it up, to be honest. But absolutely brilliant film, mate. Rutger Hauer is one of the best villains ever in this movie. It's just so good. I don't want to big it up too much for you, man, but it's a brilliant film. I definitely recommend you giving it a watch. Definitely.
Have you heard of Have you heard of a film called Wedlock?
No, I haven't, mate. Sorry.
So, in the beginning of Running Man, they've got these collars on that explode if they go out the boundary. So basically, I think it's a TV movie. That's why it's not really had a wide release. But he's in prison. And so not only do these collars have a boundary, you also have a partner, but you don't know who your partner is. And if they go out, you both go.
All right.
So that's why it's called Wedlock, because it's mixed male and female. Now, Keith at Euphoria Pictures, he got a steelbook, and I need to get it. I think it was might have been a Turbine one or something like that. So I know there's finally a Blu-ray release, but I don't know if you could call it horror. Maybe not. Maybe it's just a bit more sort of sci-fi or whatever, just action. But yeah, as you mentioned, Rutger Hauer, I was like, yeah, that film Wedlock.
So is he in that? Is he?
Yeah. Definitely worth checking out.
I love Rutger Hauer, to be honest. He's great in Blade Runner as well. And another film he's quite good in. Even though I didn't love the film, the one with the monsters going around the city. He thinks it's a serial killer, but it's kind of a monster. What's it called? Second Run or something like that. Second something it's called.
I don't know.
It's quite good. It's quite good, actually. Sorry, he's quite good in it. But the film's average, but he's good in it. All right, so thank you everyone for getting your questions in. Sorry we couldn't get to them all there, but don't forget, if you're watching or you're watching on a replay, get over to Trevor's channel, give him a subscription. Congratulations on hitting 500, by the way, Trevor. I know you're a little bit past that now. Thanks so much for coming on, man. I hope you enjoyed it.
Definitely, yeah. It's been really good talking to you.
Yeah, we'll do it again sometime if you want, mate. But yeah, thanks so much, everyone, for getting involved. Yeah, definitely. And I had a lot of fun, mate. It was good talking to you, Barney. Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. You all take care. See you in the next video. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.